Hey guys, welcome to a brand new DVD collection video. And in this video I'm going to talk about movies I feel like everyone forgot about, like forgotten films. These are films that you don't hear about much, you don't hear referenced much, you don't hear, making quotes from any of these ever. And some of these movies are really good, some of them are alright, some of them are not that great. But I went through my DVDs, and I may do another part of this at some point, but these are the ones that first came to me as movies you never hear spoken about. I would pretty much call these the forgotten films. And yes, some of them are spoken about every so often, but some of these you never hear referenced. And if you bring them up to people, like if you remember these and you bring these up, people give you a weird look and don't know what you're talking about. Now the first one here is a movie with Emilio Estevez, Cuba Gooding Jr., Denis Leary, Stephen Dorff, and Jerry Piven was in this, and it's called Judgement Night. It was about a group of people going out to a concert, and they go take a back route, and they break down in East LA, or bad part of LA in the city, and they have Denis Leary's after them because they witness a murder, and it's all kinds of issues. This is a really good one, and you don't hear this spoken about much at all. The next one, now this one when it first came out, there was a lot of stuff about it. There's like promotions for it like at McDonald's and stuff. And now this is pretty much like, just went like, blew away, no one speaks of it. And it was Guy Pearce and the Time Machine, which was a remake of the original Time Machine, which was based on the H.G. Wells book. And I think H.G. Wells' like great-great-grandson or something had something to do with this. Something like that. He directed it or something like that. And this was very well done. I always thought it was a fun, cool movie, but you don't hear it spoken about much. Now this one, I bet no one's going to remember this. This was Eddie Griffith and Orlando Jones. And you don't see Orlando Jones much anymore. Like, after that Primeval movie, I feel like, which I always called it Pew, about the killer alligator. I feel like after that, you never saw him again. And this was, maybe he got eaten by Pew. But this was Double Take. And this was with them, and something happened and they ended up switching. People got them confused. It was kind of like Kid and Play Class Act, which is another pretty forgotten one, but people remember that. But it was similar. They got switched, and there was all this confusion. This was okay. I only watched it, I think, once, and it came out like 2000-something. It's worth watching. I think it's a remake of something else, though. Now, this one is a Mickey Rourke movie that I feel like no one ever talks about. And it was a cool movie set in a mall, and it was a bunch of these... I think they broke out of prison, or they're a group of these bad guys, and they ended up holding people hostages in the mall. And Danny Trejo was in this. And I remember this was one of the first times I think I remembered seeing him in something. I'm pretty sure, and I know he had a much bigger part in this than some of the other things. Like, this is one of his first bigger parts, as I remember. This was really good, though. Now, this one was a John Glover, Juliette Lewis movie, which is really weird. And I think I brought this up before, but you never hear anyone mention this. And it's called Meet the Hollowheads. And that really weird kid, too, Joshua Miller, is in this, too. And he was always creepy. And I always saw him. He always freaked me out. And then I was so glad to see him come back in, I forgot the name of the movie. It's like, movie with Crispin Glover that, well, look it up. He was in something recently that was a remake of a Herschel Gordon Lewis movie that I liked. But it wasn't 2000 Maniacs, though. 2001 Maniacs. This, though, was like set in the future, in a futuristic like world, and it was very peculiar. And like John Glover had to invite his boss over for dinner, and it was all this to do, and very, very weird. Anne Ramsey was in it. Ellen, get me my burger, Ellen. Get out of my way. You're trying to kill me, Ellen. Get out of my way, Ellen. Well, Anne Ramsey was in this. And I felt kind of bad, though, because it was like she was doing her speech was so bad at this point, they had to put subtitles under it, which was really sad, because Anne Ramsey was one of the in my opinion, one of the actresses I really miss, like, amazing character actor. The next one, now this one you hear spoken about sometimes, but this is a pretty well forgotten one. It's Kristen Slater, Cameron Diaz movie, which I'm sure both of them want to forget. And it was Very Bad Things. I always liked this. It was kind of, there was another movie that came out after this that kind of knocked this idea off. A bunch of people went to a bachelor party, and the one girl ended up getting killed. So then they hide the body out in the desert, and Daniel Stern's character is freaking out, and he wants to tell the cops, and it's all this business going on, and then they go after him. This was a cool one, though. Now this one, The director of this just did Chloe, which was good. And this is not talked about much. It's my favorite Bob Hoskins film. And Ellen Cassidy, who was in The Others, is in this film. It's Felicia's Journey. And this was really, like, one of my all-time favorite movies. About a girl from Ireland who's, I think she goes to England or something like that, to try and find her boyfriend, who she got pregnant from and left her and won't return any of her letters. And he went to the army. And she's trying to find him without really knowing where he is. So she tries to get help from Bob Hoskins' character. And you come to find there's a lot of weird things going on with him. This is a must-see film. Now this one is a Kevin Costner movie. Now I was thinking Kevin Costner did that one movie, The New Daughter. I was like, he hasn't really done too many other horror movies. Or like suspense, thriller, things like that kind of film. Well, he did one other one called Dragonfly. Now, I will warn you, the end of this, I remember it became a teared-up mess. It's very depressing, the end. But it was about, I think it was his wife died, and he keeps on getting these visions of this kid or something. I haven't watched it in a long time. I liked it, though. It didn't get good reviews when it came out, but it was very well done. But this is one of the other Kevin Costner kind of horror films that he did. This one, I think this was based on a Stephen King book. This is one of the ones you don't hear about much. And it was Hearts in Atlantis. And I know this was Anthony Hopkins, and he has some kind of a power or something with this kid, and I don't remember, I have not seen this in such a long time, but I know this is one people don't remember. Same with this Spike Lee film, Bamboozled, which was really good. The one thing I liked about this was one of the first times I saw Damon Wayans in a really serious, dramatic role. This is a must-see one. And I feel like these guys wanted to get fired from TV or something, so they came up with like the most racist, offensive show they could come up with. And then somehow the show became a huge hit. And then Damon Wayans was feeling bad about greenlighting the thing, and it's a very cool movie. Now this one, I'm sure no one's going to remember this. I mean, I would probably forget this if I didn't have it. And it's The Caveman's Valentine with Samuel L. Jackson. Now, I'm sure no one remembers this. This thing, I think he played the piano. I don't even remember. I have watched this one time, and I know Michael Hall is in this. And it's something about him playing the piano and something going on. I don't even remember. But I remember it was cool. That's all. I can remember that. Now, this was a Joe Pesci movie. Everyone remembers Joe Pesci in, like, Goodfellas and Home Alone, but they never speak about this one. He was in the movie where he played the landlord in, like, a really seedy, falling apart apartment complex, and this was called The Super. And I remember there was all kinds of issues and things. This was a funny one that no one talks about, The Super. Now, this one was a Farley Brothers movie that they produced, I think. They produced it. He had only produced this. And it's Say It Isn't So. And I remember this one was with Chris Klein and Heather Graham, and something about them being related. They fell in love and they found out they were related, and it was a huge ordeal. I don't remember it fully. Like with some of these, I don't remember these. I have a lot here. So there's another one you don't hear talked about with Tom Arnold in The Stupids. John Landis, though, who's done a lot of really cool movies, this is one of the forgotten films he did, The Stupids. And it was about this kind of like family, everyone in the family was pretty stupid. And all I can remember is there was a scene with them going into a planetarium or something and thinking they were in space or something. And I know Bug Hall, who made a return to acting in the latest American Pie film, was in this. And the next one is a John Leguizamo movie, which when I think of John Leguizamo, this is the movie I always think of. I'm sure no one else does. But this was called The Pest. And I remember showing this, I think, to MJ and a couple other people, and they're like, I did not like that. I always liked this movie. It kind of reminded me of Chairman of the Board, the Carrot Top movie, which everyone hated, which I secretly liked. And it had that same kind of feel to it. It's hard to explain, but it felt almost like it was very like the same director, and like just flowed the same kind of humor. And I think this was a spoof though of the movie Surviving the Game with LL with Ice-T was in it, in the original. And this was John Leguizamo gets hunted on an island, and this was a pretty cool one though. And this is one that, like an 80s film that you never hear spoke about, with Fred Savage and Judge Reinhold, and it was Vice Versa. Another one of those switching body kind of things. It was, you know, Fred Savage switching bodies with his father in the movie, and all kinds of issues were happening, and I think he helped his dad out. It was a lot like Parent Trap, that kind of thing. Now this one, I don't even think I opened it. I saw this in theaters, though, but I never even opened this. And it was Samuel Jackson, Eugene Levy in The Man. And I don't even remember exactly what happened in this. I remember something about Eugene Levy was a witness or something. I don't know. All I know, it was forgotten. Now this one is a really good one. Louis Anderson, Richard Lewis, Richard Belzer, and John Goodman. And it was called The Wrong Guys. And as I remember, this was about a group of kids, grown-ups that wanted to relive their days as Boy Scouts. They go back out from one big mission. And as I remember, a lot of problems happen out in the woods and stuff. This is a funny one, though, but you don't hear this talking about. I've always been a fan of Louis Anderson. I always wished he did more movies. I thought he was funny. Like, I kind of act the same way he did. And the next one is Modern Problems. Who directed this? Ken Shapiro. And it's Chevy Chase in Modern Problems. This is one of the Chevy Chase movies you never hear people talking about. Because I remember something happened with him, and he had some kind of powers and could do things. So like I said, some of these I have not seen these in so long, but I know these are ones that you don't hear people talking about. This one is a really good movie called Dutch with Ed O'Neill. And I remember even Ed O'Neill was making fun of this show on Married with Children, because there was like a poster for it or something. He's like, oh, that terrible movie. And like Ed O'Neill's character has to pick up his girlfriend's son at school because he won't come home. And they end up going on like a road trip adventure, trying to get back home, the car problems, all kinds of issues along the way. Running out of money, getting robbed by E.G. Daly was in the movie. It's very funny. This one was Walk Like a Dog with Harry Mandel, back before Harry Mandel shaved his head because he got afraid of having hair and germs. And as I remember in this, I think something happened to him and he started acting like a dog. Like I said, I don't remember all these. This one I remember something about Charlie Murphy. I think this was the first time I remember seeing Charlie Murphy in a movie. Eddie Murphy's brother, and he acted really funny in this. And it was King's Ransom, another one I haven't opened. I feel like some of this is a little bright on the covers. I'm sorry. This is the first time I've done this in this location, so I'm working out all the bugs on this. This one I don't even remember. Now this one I think they spun off into a show, but you don't hear this movie ever talked about. And I didn't care for the animated stuff that much. I only liked the live action stuff. And it's Moses Jones. And it was Bill Murray was in it. And I don't know. I watched this one time. Like I said, I didn't care for the cartoons. I just liked the weird stuff that was going on. Really weird acting in it too. Was funny. This is a really good movie called Screwed, with one of the Dave Chappelle movies you never hear spoken about. With Dave Chappelle works for this terrible old woman and fakes his own kidnapping in hopes of getting reward money. And it's Norm Macdonald in it, who I always thought was pretty funny. He was also in Dirty Work, but people remember that, though. This was a Nanette Bening, Gary Shandling film from the Larry Sanders Show. What Planet Are You From? And I remember this was Gary Shandling was an alien that came down to impregnate a woman. He had like a robotic penis. And so it was a very funny movie. And he ends up falling in love with Nanette Bening, and they end up getting married. And it's cool. It's a good one. And this is another remake one. And this for a while you heard talked about, and now it's... And you don't even hear much about Elizabeth Hurley anymore. And this was Bedazzled, when he ended up having all these wishes and different things. Every time he would be a different person. I always thought it was pretty good. It was Howard Ramis directed this. Here's some horror movies people forgot about. Now this one, I always bring this up to people, and they were like, "What? I've never seen that." And I have two copies of this. This is my unopened one. The Willies. This was a great anthology movie, which I've always missed Brian Peck at the horror conventions. He's never been to the ones that I've at, and I've always wanted to get him to sign something for this movie and just tell him, make part 2. You know what I mean? I'll help you with it. But it's basically these kids telling stories in a tent, and there was 2 major stories in it. The one was about a janitor that was a monster and that was killing kids in the bathroom. The other one was Donkey Lips, you know, from Salute Your Shorts, Michael Bauer, and he was in that as Gordy Belcher, who had an obsession with flies and would do things in the basement with the flies and make these weird dioramas with them. And he would be stealing dirt that he would put in with the flies and do these weird experiments with this crazy old man, and things happen, and it's really cool. This is definitely, you can get this for like $6. This is definitely one to check out. The next one was one of the first movies I think I saw, like it was set like in a haunted no, that was based on like the you know, when reality TV first started and it was a big thing. This is one of the first movies making like a statement or a thing about what it could be like in the future, of what, you know, if this kept up the way it was. And for a while it seemed like reality TV was going to like flop. Now it's bigger than ever again, and now it's just sort of what TV is for the most part. And this was Slashers. It was about the director of this did End of the Line, another movie I really loved. But this is about a bunch of contestants in this reality show, and they had to survive. And like there was killers in this maze, and they had to survive and get to the end. If they did, they got a big prize, and the whole thing was televised live on TV. I think it was like on pay-per-view or something. This one was another remake, and this was called The Vanishing. And this was, I think, who was in? Yeah, Sandra Bullock was, and Kiefer Sutherland were going on a road trip, and they end up stopping in a gas station rest stop, and Sandra Bullock goes missing, and they haven't seen her for I think a couple years or something, and he's trying to figure out what happened. And then at some point he hears from the kidnapper, and it's hard to explain, but it was really good. This is another weird one that Vincent Gallo was in, that you know, who made some weird movies, but I've liked a lot of his stuff though. Hide and Seek. His best movie was Buffalo 66 that he directed. And this was Daryl Hannah and Jennifer Tilly, and I think Daryl Hannah was kidnapped and she was pregnant, and Jennifer Tilly really wanted the baby, and it was a really weird movie. This is a cool one though. This one is the Jessica Alba movie you never hear anyone talk about, and it was Idle Hands with Devon Sawa, who you don't hear about him anymore. And I always thought he was a great actor, and I think he directed something, or I've heard something like that. And this was about Devon Sawa's hand comes alive and has its own soul and starts attacking people, and he has to he cuts it off because it's going crazy, starts attacking people. I think they did an episode of The Twilight Zone or Monsters or something like that in the 80s that was similar to that story though. This one I don't even know how to say this. Calabus, and it's something about girl in a house with all this stuff going on. I don't even remember this. I know though no one talks about this. Calabus, it was cool though. And this was an Elizabeth Shue movie about a killer monkey that I never hear anyone talking about either. That Richard Franklin directed. I don't even remember what happens in this thing. I know it was something about she was staying with this monkey, and the monkey was going nuts, and I know it was cool though. It was a very cool killer monkey film. Now this is a movie, Johnny Depp film, that is like, it went to the $5 bins, and then like no one ever talked about this thing. And it was The Astronaut's Wife. And I remember it was Johnny Depp went into space, and something happened on the spaceship, and when they lost contact with the ship. When he came back, there was something different about him. He didn't seem right. This is another anthology movie that's really hard to find now, and really, really, like, if you can find it or you want to pay to get it, it's definitely worth it. And it's Body Bags. And I remember one of the story was a guy that had hair transplants, and made him go crazy, something like that. The other one was I know Robert Cardell was in it, working in a gas station, and like started. I don't want to ruin anything about it, but it was really, really cool. And I think that John Carpenter hosted the thing. It's really good, though. This is a good one that every time I bring this up, nobody remembers it. And it's called Congo. And the one thing about it is that the monkey suits in it were a little cheap, but it was about a group of people that went trying to find, I think, well, Bruce Campbell was in this. In like the very beginning, but a group of people had to try and find this group of people that went missing out in the Congo, and they get there and these crazy monkeys there killing everybody. And this one, there's a lot of promotion for this, and then this thing like went off the like where to go. This was Cry Wolf. It was a pretty cool one, and I have something about like slasher killing people at the school, and I don't even remember what happens. Some of these I'm just going to have to hold them up because I don't remember. This was a really cool Lin Shaye film. Ray Wise was in this. End of the Line. This is one of my other movies that I really like. A group of people that they keep driving down this road. Everything keeps repeating. Everything's the same. They cannot get off this road no matter what they do. They keep driving. It's the same shit again and again. Very, very cool movie. Definitely pick this one up. This one, the director of this is going to be at Weekend of Horrors, which I'm going to be at. If you've seen this a year or a couple months from now, this has already happened, but it's the Creations Weekend of Horrors. Brian Trenchard-smith, who directed Dead End Drive-In, which is a really cool movie about, it was in Australia, and a bunch of, they would take the teenagers and the troublemakers, and they would lock them in the drive-in, and they wouldn't know on the way going in, but once they get in there, it's like Mad Max kind of. They get trapped in there and they can't get out. There's this guard, and very, very, very cool movie. This one I love. I just watched her in Class of 1999, I think. And Philip Seymour Hoffman's in this. It's one of his first early movies. And it's My Boyfriend's Back from the Dead. And this was good. This was, the one character really likes this girl, and he finally is going to go out on a date with her. No, he's at a convenience store. He gets shot, the girl saving this girl, and then the one girl, he asks the girl when he's basically dying on the ground, will you go to the prom with me? And she's like, oh yeah, I will. So then he dies, comes back to life to go to the prom with her. So it's everyone in the town's freaked out, and he starts eating people, and the parents have to start getting him food and getting him bodies. This is it's not a great movie, but I like it. This is a Richard Dreyfuss movie that I've always loved, Krippendorf Tribe. This was about, Richard Dreyfuss' character was supposed to shoot this documentary on this tribe. His wife died. He never ended up shooting the stuff, and didn't have anything. And he had to deliver the footage because he got paid all this money. Basically, spent all the money on TVs and stuff in the house. So him and his family had to fake the whole thing. So they had to go in their backyard, set up all these sets, and make fake footage to show. This is one that I liked. It's not a very good movie. It's kind of weird. Ted Danson had his hair in a funny ponytail in it. But it's Getting Even with Dad with Macaulay Culkin. And Macaulay Culkin goes to stay with his father because his mother went on a trip or something. And his father was in and out of jail. And I think Macaulay Culkin's character overheard his father and these friends talking about robbing something, and he finds out that Macaulay Culkin finds out they robbed it, so he steals when they're not around, what they stole, like the money or the coins or something, and hides them from the father. The father finds out that he did it, and the father has to take Macaulay Culkin's character out and do all this crap with him for him to tell him where the coins are. This is another one, I remember when I first saw this, I think I was just there was just nothing out. I was like, well, I didn't know what to see. I saw this in the theaters called Happy Texas, a Steve Zahn film. And I remember, they robbed something and went in this town and had to pretend that they were a gay couple. And I don't remember what happens in it. I remember I liked it, though. It's another cool movie with John Glover. Ed and His Dead Mother with Steve Buscemi. I think Steve Buscemi's mother kills his mother or something, and I don't remember what happens in this. This is a cool one that Danny DeVito directed. That this is totally not spoken about, called Duplex. And it was Ben Stiller and Drew Barrymore, and they're in this duplex, and there's this pain-in-the-ass old woman living upstairs or something, causing all kinds of issues, and they try and get her to move out, something like that. This is a Joe Pesci, Danny DeVito movie called Gone Fishing, and I remember it's like they're planning on going on this big fishing trip thing, and all kinds of problems happen. I remember this scene when they screw up the boat, and they're like, oh, we'll have to pay for that. It's not a great movie. And I remember there's one real big continuity thing or something. When they switch positions, they're sitting on the table. Like one point, Joe Pesci's character is here, but in the next shot, it switches to Danny Glover sitting in that side. Very weird continuity thing I noticed. The next one, now this is a cool one, that Mike Shank and Mark from American Movie were in. This was Britney Baby One More Time. Nobody ever talks about this. And I think it was like they were following around Britney Spears or something. This weird comedy. Like, you don't ever hear anyone talking about this. As I remember, though, I liked it. And this is a movie with, Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon in The Odd Couple 2. You always hear The Odd Couple 1, but you never hear The Odd Couple 2 brought up. And this was like a direct sequel to it. And I liked it. It was basically just another grumpy old man. It was the same kind of thing. And this is a cool John Candy movie you don't hear much about. Once Upon a Crime. And it was like one of those whodunit kind of things. Kind of like, I think a little bit like Clue, as I remember. I don't know. I don't remember a lot. I remember I liked it. I know I said I remember I liked it a lot on this. But like I said, some things I just don't remember. But I remember, but I liked them. And I suggest you check these out. Well, some of them. For the most part, most of them. A few of them were not that great, though. Like Astronaut's Wife's not amazing or anything. This one I really like, Midnight Madness. And this was one of the early Michael J. Fox movie. And Stephen Furst was in this, too. It was about, like, they wanted to have this big midnight, like, scavenger hunt thing. And it was all, like, them screwing around at night. And the one guy with that funny voice from the Snack, Crackle, and Pop, however you do it. Well, he was in this. Now this one, you hear about it because I'm always talking about it. It's Martin Short, Charles Grodin, and Mary Steenburgen and Clifford. And not the big red dog. People have heard about Clifford. Every time I say, have you seen Clifford? They're like, the big red dog? You like that? I'm like, no, this thing. Well, this is one you just about never hear spoken about. And the last one is Bubble Boy. Jake Gyllenhaal's movie I'm sure he wants to forget. When he was a remake of the, Boy in the Plastic Bubble, and this was pretty funny. Beetlejuice was in this from the Howard Stern show. Well, that was all the videos, all the DVDs in this update, which is basically movies you never hear anyone talking about, and I'll see you guys later.